If you eat breakfast and still feel hungry, unfocused, or irritable a few hours later, the problem is rarely willpower. It's chemistry. Many modern breakfasts create fast spikes in blood sugar that feel energizing at first, but almost guarantee a crash by late morning. Tibetan monks took a very different approach. For generations, many of them have relied on a simple grain, roasted barley, as their daily fuel, not because it's traditional, but because it keeps energy stable in cold, high-altitude conditions where hunger becomes a real problem. In this video, I'll break this down into 5 clear parts, so you can follow the logic step by step. First, why modern breakfasts quietly make you hungrier. Second, why barley became a daily staple in monastic life. Third, the specific component inside barley that increases satiety. Fourth, and this is the most important part, how it affects blood sugar and cravings at a physiological level. And finally, how to apply this in a modern breakfast without copying a monastery diet. This isn't about trends or restriction. It's about designing a morning that doesn't work against your body. Most modern breakfasts fail for one simple reason. They deliver energy too fast. Cereal, toast, sweet yogurt, juice, even many healthy options are built around carbohydrates that digest quickly, raise blood sugar rapidly, and then drop it just as fast. The result is predictable. You eat at 8 a.m., feel fine for a short window, and by 11 a.m. your body is already asking for more fuel. This isn't because you didn't eat enough calories, but because your blood glucose rose sharply and then fell, triggering hunger hormones as a protective response. When glucose drops, the brain interprets it as instability, and appetite increases to correct it. This is why hunger often comes with irritability, mental fog, and a sense of urgency rather than simple emptiness. Researchers describe this pattern using concepts like glycemic response. Foods that digest quickly create steep energy curves, while slower digesting foods flatten that curve and delay hunger. Processing matters more than labels. The same grain can behave very differently depending on whether it's refined, milled, or eaten whole. A breakfast built around fast-digesting carbs doesn't just make you hungry sooner. It trains your body to expect frequent intake, turning the entire day into a cycle of peaks, crashes, and rescue snacks. Tibetan monks couldn't afford that instability. In cold climates, long routines, and limited food access, hunger wasn't an inconvenience, it was a liability. So instead of choosing foods that felt light or stimulating, they chose foods that delivered energy slowly and predictably. And the key difference wasn't calories or portion size, but how that food behaved once it entered the bloodstream, which is exactly why their daily grain choice matters far more than it looks at first glance. Barley didn't become monk food because it was trendy or spiritual. It became monk food because it solved a hard logistics problem on the Tibetan plateau: cold, altitude, short growing seasons, and long stretches where you need calories that don't spoil, don't require a full kitchen, and don't trigger energy crashes. Highland barley is notably resilient in harsh conditions, and archaeological research shows wheat and barley rapidly became staple crops on parts of the Tibetan plateau after their introduction, which tells you this wasn't a niche preference. It was a survival upgrade that spread because it worked. And the form matters. Tsampa is roasted barley flour, roasted, milled, and ready. So it's portable, shelf-stable, and can be eaten in minutes by mixing with liquid, often butter tea. Multiple travel and cultural sources describe Tsampa specifically as roasted barley flour and emphasize its long shelf life and portability, which is exactly why it became the default fuel for nomadic life and monastery routines. Now put yourself in a monk's morning. You wake in cold air, you're going to chant, study, and work, and you don't want a breakfast that feels light for 20 minutes and then demands a snack. You want the opposite, a dense base that sits heavy enough to steady you without making you sleepy. Tsampa does that because it's designed around stability. It's concentrated energy, it's easy to portion, and when paired with fat, like butter tea, it slows digestion further, which matters because fat delays gastric emptying and smooths the energy curve. And culturally, that's the psychological hack too. Modern breakfasts are built for entertainment and stimulation, while Tsampa is treated like fuel. You eat it with intention, often more slowly, without chasing sweetness, and without stacking it with liquid sugar. That shift alone changes outcomes because the hunger machine isn't only about what you ate, it's also how fast you ate it and what you paired it with. The final piece is that barley isn't just a carb. It's unusually rich in soluble fiber called beta-glucan, and there are randomized controlled studies where adding high beta-glucan barley to a staple meal reduced appetite and influenced energy intake later, which is exactly the kind of downstream effect that matters for staying full until lunch. So when you hear monks eat barley, don't imagine a sad bowl of plain grain. Imagine a deliberately engineered breakfast system. A hearty crop that thrives where others fail, processed into a form you can carry and prepare instantly, paired in a way that smooths digestion, and backed by components known to affect satiety. And the next part is where the story becomes almost unfairly practical, because the real reason it keeps you steady isn't mystical discipline. It's a specific mechanism inside barley that changes how your gut and brain decide whether you're still hungry or finally satisfied. Here's the part that explains why barley can feel quiet in your body while modern breakfast feels noisy. Barley is naturally rich in a soluble fiber called beta-glucan, and soluble fiber behaves like a biological speed limiter. When beta-glucan mixes with liquid in your stomach and small intestine, it forms a gentle, gel-like viscosity, and that viscosity slows how fast carbohydrates and fats are broken down and absorbed, which means you don't get that sharp up-then-down energy curve that triggers late morning hunger. This is also why barley often feels more filling than its calories would suggest, because satiety isn't only about stomach volume. It's also about how long nutrients stay in the system and what signals your gut sends to the brain. In practical terms, many clinical studies that look at appetite and metabolic effects use beta-glucan doses in the few grams range, and you'll often see around 3 grams per day discussed as a meaningful threshold for physiological effects in research and health guidance for oats/barley, which give you a real-world anchor. This isn't a fairy dust nutrient. It's measurable and dose-dependent. Beyond slowing absorption, beta-glucan can also increase the release of satiety-related gut hormones after a meal, meaning you don't just feel full in the moment. You feel done longer, and many people notice fewer cravings for quick sugar because the brain isn't panicking for a glucose rescue. Then there's the second layer monks discovered without naming it. What happens later? Some barley meals produce what researchers call a second meal effect, where the next meal's blood sugar response can be steadier too, likely because of delayed digestion plus fermentation in the gut that produces short-chain fatty acids that influence metabolism and appetite signaling. In other words, barley doesn't just change your breakfast, it can change the way your whole day behaves. And this is why tsampa, especially when paired with fat or protein, tend to keep people stable for hours. You're not stacking rapid carbs, you're building friction into digestion on purpose. But the most important test isn't whether you feel full at 8:30. It's what happens to your blood sugar and cravings by late morning, because that's where hunger becomes predictable. And that's exactly what we're going to break down next. What most people call steady energy is really a steady glucose and insulin curve, and that curve decides how loud hunger will feel later. When breakfast hits fast, think cereal, toast, pastries, juice, sweetened yogurt. You often get a sharp rise in blood glucose followed by compensatory insulin response, and then a drop that can happen right when you try to focus mid-morning. That drop doesn't just create hunger, it creates urgency. The brain reads it as instability and starts pushing you toward quick fuel, which is why cravings tend to aim at sugar, refined carbs, and constant snacking rather than a calm, normal appetite. Barley changes that dynamic through multiple mechanisms at once, and the difference isn't mystical, it's mechanical. First, beta-glucan increases viscosity in the gut, which slows gastric emptying and slows carbohydrate absorption, so glucose arrives in the blood more gradually. This reduces the magnitude of the peak and, more importantly, reduces the rebound dip that triggers cravings. Second, that same slow delivery tends to amplify satiety signaling. When nutrients arrive steadily, your gut has time to release satiety hormones like GLP-1 and PYY that tell the brain you're covered, and your hunger hormone patterns stabilize instead of swinging. Third, barley can reduce the reward panic effect of modern breakfast because the brain is not bracing for a crash. With fewer swings, people often report less irritability, less impulsive eating, and fewer mood dips that masquerade as hunger. There's also a longer tail effect that matters for an older audience. Stable post-meal glucose can mean fewer energy slumps, fewer shaky feelings, and less reliance on constant caffeine or sugary rescue snacks, which can be especially relevant if someone already struggles with sleep quality or afternoon fatigue. Another layer most people miss is what happens in the colon hours later. Part of the fiber fraction reaches the microbiome and gets fermented into short-chain fatty acids, which can influence appetite regulation and insulin sensitivity, meaning the benefits can extend beyond just this breakfast and nudge the day toward more stable appetite patterns. This is why barley sometimes feels like it lasts, not because it's heavy, but because it keeps the internal signals coherent. Glucose doesn't spike, insulin doesn't overshoot, satiety hormones have time to register, and cravings don't have a biochemical reason to scream. But there's a crucial condition. The same barley can fail if you sabotage the curve. If you turn it into a sugar-loaded product, pair it with sweet drinks, or eat it so fast that it behaves like a rushed carb, you lose the stabilizing advantage. The win comes from a whole system: the form of the grain, the pairing, protein/fat, the pace, and the absence of liquid sugar on the side. And this is exactly where most people get it wrong. They add one healthy ingredient, but keep the breakfast pattern that creates the spike and dip cycle. So in the final section, I'm going to give you 3 modern monk-style breakfast builds that preserve the stable curve, plus the specific mistakes that quietly turn a good barley breakfast into another hunger machine, and how to adjust it depending on whether you're at a desk, training, or trying to control cravings. Here's how to apply the monk logic without pretending you live in a monastery. You're building a breakfast that keeps blood sugar smooth, keeps satiety signals online, and removes the late morning rescue snack cycle. So every build follows the same rule. Barley is the base, plus either protein or fat, ideally both, plus a deliberate pace, and absolutely no liquid sugar on the side. Build 1 is the office build, designed for long focus with minimal cravings. Cook barley kernels ahead of time like you would rice. Then in the morning warm a portion and add a protein anchor, Greek yogurt, eggs, or cottage cheese if you tolerate dairy, plus a small fat source like nuts, seeds, or a spoon of nut butter, and finish with cinnamon or a pinch of salt rather than sweeteners. This combination works because barley gives slow carbohydrates, protein increases satiety and blunts glucose response, and fat slows gastric emptying so you don't get the spike and dip curve, and the result should be a quieter appetite that doesn't demand food every 2 hours. Build 2 is the minimal build, closest to sample logic for people who want speed. Use roasted barley flour or a barley-based porridge. Mix it with hot water or unsweetened tea to a thick consistency. Then add something fatty, like a small amount of butter, ghee, or a drizzle of olive oil if you want a modern version. And if you can, add a small protein on the side. It sounds almost too simple, but that thickness and fat pairing is the point because thin, sweet breakfasts vanish quickly while dense, unsweetened breakfasts create a slower digestive curve. Build 3 is the training build for people who need calories but still want stability. Keep barley as the foundation, increase portion size, and add a stronger protein dose: eggs, lean meat, protein yogurt, or a protein shake without sugar, plus salt and maybe fruit, but fruit comes with rules. Whole fruit only, never juice, and ideally paired with a meal, not eaten alone, because even healthy sugars can reintroduce the fast rise pattern if you isolate them. Now the mistakes that turn a good barley breakfast into another hunger machine are surprisingly consistent. Mistake 1 is combining barley with liquid sugar, like orange juice, sweet coffee drinks, or healthy smoothies. Liquid sugar hits fast, spikes glucose, and undermines the entire point of choosing a slower grain. Mistake 2 is eating barley alone as a pure carb and expecting it to carry the whole morning. It might still be better than cereal, but without protein or fat, the curve is steeper and hunger returns sooner. Mistake 3 is turning it into dessert, honey, syrups, lots of dried fruit, because sweetness encourages speed, and speed is the enemy of satiety. The more reward-driven the breakfast becomes, the faster people eat it and the faster it digests. Mistake 4 is using ultra-processed barley products that remove the fiber advantage. The more refined and pre-digested the product, the more it behaves like any other quick carb. So whenever possible, you want whole barley or minimally processed forms that still contain the soluble fiber fraction. Then there's the safety and common sense layer for an older audience. If you have diabetes, are on glucose-lowering medication, have diagnosed heart rhythm issues, or are managing a medical diet, You should treat any significant breakfast change as something to discuss with a clinician, especially if you plan to reduce sugar and change carbohydrate timing, because stable breakfast can change appetite and potentially affect glucose patterns. And a final rule monks would respect, even in a modern home. Don't judge this by one morning. Run it as a simple experiment for 10 days. Track one thing only: how hungry you feel at 11 a.m. And if the hunger quiets down, you'll know you didn't fix willpower, you fixed the system. The deeper lesson is that monks didn't win against hunger by being tougher than you. They won by choosing foods that keep the body signals calm. And once you experience that calm appetite for a week, it becomes very hard to go back to breakfast that turn your morning into a negotiation.